Exhausting all avenues for justice, Utah women say they faced more confusion and bureaucracy from the one place they thought would help them, Utah's Council on Victims of Crime.
KSL's failure to protect investigation uncovered victims' rights complaints by two women who took their sexual assault cases to the Attorney General's office for a second look. And tonight, KSL investigator Daniela Rivera examines why improving the process for others may require action from lawmakers.
If my perpetrator has hurt another person, it's really off of my hands.
Tabitha Bell was 17 when she reported to Sandy police that she was raped, leading to multiple investigations, but no criminal charges. She took her case to the Attorney General's office for review in 2019 under Utah's new second look process created by House Bill 281.
I feel betrayed by my state.
She's one of two women who filed formal complaints against the AG's office with Utah's Council on Victims of Crime over a process they say did not follow best practices. Tabitha's complaint says she suffered severe emotional distress after Justice Division Director Craig Barlow directed her victim advocate to leave the room and read a lengthy, explicit statement with the suspect's version of events.
I feel betrayed by the people I trusted.
Barlow didn't respond to the KSL investigators' request for comment, and the AG's office wouldn't discuss Tabitha's case. Tabitha says the process was difficult, traumatic, and in her view, rife with errors.
So victim blaming, so scrutinizing.
The AG's office employees didn't record her interview, but they created written statements about what happened, most dated between 4 and 6 months later, which Tabitha says mixed together her account of what happened with the suspects. Tabitha says these statements make it look like she changed her story that day.
I disagree with their assertion that she was being inconsistent.
Attorney Greg Fairbrush was there representing Tabitha. He's reviewed those statements.
Concerningly, the statements are not consistent with each other.
And what Fairbrush says he observed that day raises questions about the process.
It was not handled in accordance with best practices.
I physically couldn't resist my assailant.
Tabitha believes the AG's office did not fully consider her rare form of muscular dystrophy as a factor in her case. This AG's office memo states, despite her physical disability, Tabitha is an accomplished champion equestrian. Tabitha's horse riding requires magnets in her boots to keep her in the saddle.
They were doing the criminal investigation on me as a survivor instead of my own assailant.
The second complaint against the AG's office stems from a conversation that was recorded by attorney Jana Tibbetts. Tibbetts says during a phone call, Barlow dismissed her client's concerns about her safety, the review process, and potential conflicts of interest.
Comfortable with proceeding, that she can withdraw her 281 request, but she doesn't dictate how we investigate the criminal case.
Her client's complaint to the Victims' Rights Council describes her experience as openly hostile.
It's not just the no justice, it's the no protection.
Both complaints were filed in the summer of 2020. 3 years later, both women say there's been no resolution. In response to the complaints, the AG's office sent an email to the council in 2022 saying moving forward, they'd include victim advocates, they'd record interviews, and do additional training.
Frankly, it was shocking because those are things that should have 100% been in place from the beginning.
But the KSL investigators learned those practices still may not be happening. Are all of those interviews recorded?
No.
Second look prosecutor Che Arguello told us generally they do record, but he couldn't guarantee they will in every interview.
No, there's no hard and fast rule at all.
As for the extra training, the AG's office wouldn't confirm whether it happened. And when we filed a public record request seeking documentation of that training, the AG's office said they couldn't find any records.
This is a really serious issue. There are human lives that are involved in this.
Remy Zippel chairs Utah's Council on Victims of Crime, which hasn't released any findings about whether the women's rights were violated.
This process is not working.
In a December 2022 email, Zippel told Tabitha's family the council would present a letter with its findings in March. When March rolled around, he said that letter was on hold so the council's attorney could review it. Then in May, he wrote, there is no document.
If people are getting run around, we're doing something wrong.
Zippel tells us the council's investigation legislation didn't follow Utah law. He learned the complaints should have been handled by yet another committee, but weren't. And he says in order to release any findings, Tabitha would have to start the complaint process over again.
Direct is our goal, and anything which would be the opposite of the runaround, because we know that victims are getting that, and that's unfair, and that is on us.
The council spent hours drafting a revised process in June. Zippel says they're pushing for clarity for victims, but they also want more power to hold those in the system accountable when victims' rights are violated. And they need an act of the legislature to get it.
That would allow us to defend those rights adequately.
As the council prepares to take its request to lawmakers, the women behind those complaints tell us,
I have done my part. I've done all of it.
they want to see the system improve for others.
It's upsetting because it's fixable.
The AG's office wouldn't answer any of our questions about the cases that led to the victims' rights complaints, but in an emailed statement wrote that they handled the cases professionally and appropriately. As for the council's efforts, I spoke with Provo Representative Tyler Clancy today. He says he's working with the council to draft legislation strengthening and clarifying Utah law for victims. We'll keep an eye on that. Mike and Deanie.
All right, Daniela, thank you. This story is just the latest installment in our Failure to Protect series. You can watch all of them online and on the KSL Plus app.